The Voldorian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had conquered more than 3,000 worlds. Every planet they found, they took. Every species they met, they crushed. No one had ever said no to them. No one had ever fought back and won. They believed they were the masters of all living things. When their scouts found Earth, they laughed. The small blue planet was home to creatures called humans. These humans had only recently learned to leave their own world. They had simple weapons, simple ships, simple technology. The Voldorians thought conquering Earth would take less than one day. Admiral Keth Oren was the commander of the invasion fleet. He was old and experienced. He had conquered 47 worlds in his career. He stood on the bridge of his massive ship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched Earth grow larger on his screen. The planet was beautiful, he thought. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It would make a fine addition to the Empire. Send the message, he ordered his communications officer. Tell them to surrender. The message went out to every television, every radio, every phone on Earth. It was translated into every human language. The message was simple. Surrender now. Become slaves of the Voldorian Empire. Or die. The humans had 24 hours to decide. On Earth, people panicked. Some ran to their churches. Some ran to their families. Some ran to nowhere at all. The streets filled with chaos. The news channels showed the alien ships hanging in the sky like dark clouds. Everyone was afraid. But not everyone wanted to give up. In Washington, the leaders of Earth gathered for an emergency meeting. Presidents and prime ministers connected through video screens. Generals and admirals sat in war rooms around the world. They all faced the same question. What should they do? General Catherine Moore was 62 years old. She had gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in 3 wars during her life. She had seen friends die. She had made impossible decisions. Now she faced the most impossible decision of all. We cannot win this fight, said one of the politicians on the screen. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. We should negotiate. Negotiate what? Catherine asked. They want us as slaves. There is nothing to negotiate. Then we surrender. We save as many lives as we can. Catherine shook her head. I have studied war my entire life. I know one thing for certain. When you surrender to an enemy who sees you as less than nothing, you do not save lives. You simply choose a slower death. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. 37 ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. The biggest ship, the Eternal Dominion, was 5 kilometers long. It could destroy entire cities with a single shot. So what do you suggest? The president asked. Catherine stood up straight. We fight. We fight with everything we have. We make them pay for every inch of ground they take. And maybe, just maybe, we show them that humans are not easy prey. Some people in the room thought she was crazy. Some thought she was brave. But in the end, they all agreed. Earth would not surrender. Earth would fight. The Secretary General of the United Nations went on television. Billions of people watched. His face was calm, but his hands were shaking. People of Earth, he said, we have received the enemy's demand. They want us to become their slaves. They want to take our freedom, our dignity, our future. Today, we give them our answer. We say no, we will not bow. We will not kneel. We will not surrender. If they want our world, they will have to fight for it. And they will learn that humans do not go quietly into the night. When the message reached Admiral Keth Oren, he could not believe it. In all his years, he had never seen a species refuse surrender. Every world he conquered had begged for mercy. Every species had fallen to their knees. But these humans, these primitive creatures, had said no. "They are fools," said his second-in-command. "They do not understand what they face." Keth Arn smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then we will teach them. Prepare the invasion force. We will crush them so completely that the galaxy will remember their foolishness for 1,000 years." The Voldorian soldiers prepared for battle. They wore armor made from materials that could stop any weapon humans had ever made. They carried plasma rifles that could burn through steel. They had fought 100 wars and never lost. They expected this war to be the easiest of all on Earth. Humans also prepared. Soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots climbed into their jets. Sailors took their ships to sea. Ordinary people joined militias. Factories began working day and night to make more bullets, more bombs, more everything. In Texas, a young soldier named Danny Lopez called his mother. He was 29 years old. He had joined the army because he wanted to protect people. Now he was about to fight aliens from another world. "I might not come back, Mom," he said. His mother was crying. "I know, baby. I know, but I have to try. We all have to try. If we don't fight, everything we love disappears." His mother told him she was proud of him. She told him she loved him. Then the line went dead. The Voldorians had started jamming communications. Danny looked up at the sky. He could see the alien ships now, small dots of light that did not move like stars. Tomorrow, those ships would send down soldiers to kill his people. Tomorrow, everything would change. But Danny was not afraid. He was angry. These aliens had come to his home. They had threatened his family. They had demanded that his entire species become slaves. And they expected humans to just accept it. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Humans had been fighting wars since the beginning of their history. They had killed each other with rocks, with swords, with guns, with bombs. They were not proud of this. But it meant they knew how to fight. It meant they knew how to kill. And it meant they would never, ever give up. The Voldorian Empire had conquered 3,000 worlds. They had never faced a species like humanity. They did not know that humans were different. They did not know that humans would rather die than live as slaves. They were about to learn. As the sun set on Earth's last day of peace, humans everywhere made ready. Some prayed. Some said goodbye to their loved ones. Some simply cleaned their weapons and waited. They did not know if they could win, but they knew they would fight. And in the darkness of space, the Voldorian fleet began to move. The invasion had begun. 6 months had passed since the invasion began. The Voldorian Empire still held large parts of Earth, but their control was slipping away day by day. Everywhere they went, humans attacked them. There was no peace. There was no safety. There was only endless war. The aliens had expected to be masters of Earth by now. Instead, they were trapped in a nightmare. Captain Benjamin Cole led a resistance unit in the ruins of Chicago. Before the invasion, he'd been a high school football coach. He had never thought about killing anyone. Now he was one of the most feared guerrilla fighters in the Midwest. His team had destroyed more than 50 Voldorian vehicles and killed hundreds of enemy soldiers. Tonight, their target was a communication tower. If they could destroy it, the aliens in the entire region would lose contact with their commanders for at least 2 days. That would give other resistance groups time to attack without warning. Benjamin crawled through the rubble of a destroyed shopping mall. His second-in-command, Maria Gonzalez, moved beside him. Maria had been a teacher before the war. Her school had been hit by an alien bomb on the first day of the invasion. 30 of her students had died. She had been fighting ever since. "Tower is 2 blocks ahead," Maria whispered. "I count 8 guards. Maybe 10. Benjamin nodded. "Same plan as always. Fast and quiet. In and out before they know we are here." The team moved through the darkness like ghosts. They had learned how to avoid alien sensors. They had learned where the Valdorians were weak. 6 months of constant fighting had turned ordinary people into expert killers. The attack took less than 2 minutes. Benjamin's team hit the guards from 3 directions at once. Human bullets tore through alien armor. By the time the Valdorians understood what was happening, most of them were already dead. The survivors ran, but Maria shot them before they could escape. "Set the charges," Benjamin ordered. His explosives expert planted bombs on the tower's main supports. Everyone pulled back to a safe distance. The explosion lit up the night sky. The tower collapsed in a heap of burning metal. "Good work," Benjamin said. "Now let us disappear." They vanished into the ruins before any alien reinforcements could arrive. Tomorrow, they would strike again. And the day after that. And the day after that. Until the aliens were gone or they were dead. This was how humans fought. Not in big battles, but in 1,000 small ones. They attacked and faded away. They never let the enemy rest. They made occupation so painful that the Valdorians were starting to wonder if Earth was worth the cost. But the resistance was not the only thing changing the war. In secret laboratories hidden around the world, human scientists were working on something that would turn everything upside down. Dr. Lisa Park was a physicist from Boston. Before the invasion, she had studied particle physics at a famous university. Now she worked in a secret base deep under the Rocky Mountains. Her job was to understand alien technology and find ways to use it against the invaders. For months, she had been taking apart captured Valdorian equipment. Shield generators, weapons, communication devices. Piece by piece, she was learning how everything worked. One morning, she made a discovery that changed everything. Their shields are designed to stop energy, she told General Catherine Moore, who had come to visit the lab. Plasma, lasers, heat, radiation. Their technology is built to fight enemies who use energy weapons. But our weapons are different. We throw solid objects at high speed. Their shields barely slow down a bullet. Catherine understood immediately. That is why our guns work so well against them. Exactly. And now I can do something even better. Lisa showed her a new device on the workbench. It was a strange combination of human and alien parts. This is a railgun powered by a Valdorian energy core. It fires a metal slug at 10 kilometers per second. Nothing in their arsenal can stop it. Catherine picked up the weapon. It was heavy, but not too heavy. A normal soldier could carry it. "Can you make more of these?" "I can make thousands of them." And that is not all. Lisa led her to another part of the lab. "I have been working on ship designs. If we combine their faster-than-light engines with our weapon systems, we can build warships. Real warships. Ships that can fight their fleet in space." For the first time in months, Catherine felt hope. Until now, humanity had been fighting a defensive war. They could hurt the aliens on the ground, but the enemy fleet in orbit was untouchable. If they could change that, if they could take the fight to space, everything would be different. "How long until the ships are ready?" Catherine asked. 6 months. Maybe less if we get more resources. Catherine nodded. "You will have everything you need. Every factory, every worker, every scrap of metal on this planet. We are going to build a fleet." The word spread through the resistance networks. Scientists around the world began sharing their discoveries. Factories that had been making rifles started making spaceship parts. Human creativity and Valdorian technology came together to create something new. Meanwhile, the ground war continued. The Valdorians tried to crush the resistance, but they were fighting an enemy they did not understand. Humans used tricks the aliens had never seen. They pretended to surrender and then attacked when the enemy lowered their guard. They sent false messages to draw aliens into traps. They even taught their children to spy, because Valdorians never suspected that human young could be dangerous. Admiral Catharn received reports of disaster after disaster. His forces controlled less territory than they had 3 months ago. His soldiers were exhausted and afraid. Many had started refusing to leave their bases. The humans were everywhere, and they never stopped coming. "We need reinforcements," his officers begged. "More ships, more soldiers, more weapons." But the Empire had other wars to fight, other worlds to conquer. Catharn had promised an easy victory. He had promised that Earth would fall in days. Now, 6 months later, he was losing. He sent a message to the Emperor, asking for help. The response was cold. "Win the war with what you have," the Emperor said. "Prove that you deserve your rank." Catharn looked at the planet below. Somewhere down there, humans were building weapons to destroy him. Somewhere down there, scientists were unlocking the secrets of his technology. Somewhere down there, an entire species was preparing to strike back. He had come to Earth expecting to find sheep. He had found wolves, and the wolves were getting stronger every day. The Voldorian dropships fell through Earth's atmosphere like metal rain. Thousands of them. They came down over every continent, targeting the biggest cities and the strongest military bases. The alien commanders expected a quick victory. They expected the humans to run and hide. They expected fear and chaos. They got something very different. In the Nevada desert. The 1st Valdorian Battalion landed near a small military base. The alien soldiers marched out of their ships in perfect formation. Their armor gleamed in the morning sun. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. They walked toward the base, expecting to find humans cowering behind their walls. Sergeant Danny Lopez was waiting for them. He sat inside a tank, watching the aliens approach through his targeting screen. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. He had trained for this moment his entire military career. Not for fighting aliens, of course, but for fighting, for defending his home, for protecting his people. "Hold fire," his commander said through the radio. "Wait until they are in the kill zone." Danny waited. The aliens came closer. 300 meters. 200 meters. 100 meters. Fire. Danny pulled the trigger. The tank's main gun roared. The first shot hit 2 alien soldiers and sent them flying through the air. For a moment, the Valdorians stopped moving. They could not understand what had happened. Their shields were supposed to stop any weapon. Their armor was supposed to protect them from anything. But human weapons did not work like alien weapons. The Valdorians used plasma and energy beams. Their shields were designed to absorb heat and light. They had never faced enemies who threw chunks of metal at incredible speeds. A tungsten shell moving at 3 kilometers per second did not care about energy shields. It simply punched through everything in its path. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 800 Valdorian soldiers lay dead on the desert sand. Human losses were heavy too. 200 soldiers had died defending the base. But the base was still standing. The aliens had been stopped, and this scene repeated across the entire planet. In Germany, NATO forces ambushed a Valdorian column in a dark forest. The aliens could not see their enemies. Bullets came from everywhere. Explosions tore through their ranks. By the time they understood what was happening, half of them were already dead. In Japan, civilians joined the fight. Old men and young women picked up weapons and stood beside soldiers. They built barricades in the streets. They fought from windows and rooftops. The Valdorians had to battle for every single block. In Brazil, the jungle became a death trap for the invaders. Human soldiers knew the land. They knew where to hide, where to strike, where to disappear. Alien patrols went into the jungle and never came out. Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Hayes, commanded a battalion of Marines in Hawaii. She was 45 years old, with short brown hair and a scar on her chin from an old training accident. When the Valdurian ships descended on her island, she was ready. "Listen up," she told her troops before the battle. "These things think they are better than us. They think we will break and run. They think wrong. We are Marines. We do not run. We do not break. We fight until the enemy is dead, or we are. Today, we show these aliens what that means." The battle for Oahu was brutal. The Valdorians landed 50,000 soldiers on the island. They had air support, heavy weapons, and technology far beyond anything humans possessed. Patricia had 10,000 Marines and a lot of determination. For 3 days, the fighting never stopped. The Valdorians pushed forward. The Marines pushed back. Streets became battlegrounds. Buildings became fortresses. Every meter of ground was paid for in blood. Patricia fought alongside her troops. She carried a rifle like everyone else. She got wounded twice but refused to leave the front line. Her soldiers saw her courage and fought even harder. On the third day, the Valdorian commander made a terrible mistake. He sent his remaining forces in one massive assault, trying to break through the Marine lines. Patricia had been waiting for this. Now, she ordered, hidden artillery positions opened fire. Missiles streaked from camouflage launchers. Snipers shot alien officers. The massive assault became a massive disaster. The Valdorians retreated, leaving thousands of dead behind. When the smoke cleared, Oahu was still in human hands. 40,000 Valdorian soldiers had died. 12,000 humans had fallen. But the island was free. On the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Catherine stared at the reports coming in from the surface. He could not believe what he was reading. His forces were being destroyed. Not defeated. Destroyed. In 3 days of fighting, he had lost more soldiers than in his last 50 conquests combined. How is this possible? He demanded. They are primitives. They should have surrendered. His aide spoke carefully. Sir, we have studied their history. Humans have a concept they call fighting to the last man. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. They fight until they cannot fight anymore. That is insane. No species fights like that. It is wasteful. It is foolish. Nevertheless, sir, that is what they are doing. Catherine looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed Valdorian positions across the planet. Every single one was under attack. Every single one was taking casualties. The invasion that was supposed to take 1 day was now entering its second week, with no end in sight. He had conquered 47 worlds. He had never faced anything like this. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like animals defending their den. They used every dirty trick, every ambush, every trap they could think of. They attacked supply lines. They assassinated officers. They turned their own cities into death traps. And they never, ever stopped. In the ruins of a burning city, a Valdorian officer asked a captured human soldier why they kept fighting. The human looked at him with hatred in his eyes. Because this is our home, the human said. Because you came here and threatened our families. Because we would rather die free than live as your slaves. The officer did not understand. On his world, survival was the most important thing. If you could not win, you surrendered and tried again later. But these humans did not think that way. They valued something more than survival. They called it freedom. They called it dignity. They called it honor. And they were willing to die for it. As the weeks passed, the Valdorian advance slowed and then stopped. They held territory, but they could not hold it peacefully. Every night brought new attacks. Every day brought new casualties. The humans were bleeding them dry. Admiral Keth Arn realized something terrible. He was not winning this war. He was losing it. Slowly, painfully, but certainly. The humans were not going to give up. They were not going to surrender. They were going to fight until one side was completely destroyed, and he was no longer sure which side that would be. 1 year after the first Valdorian ship appeared in Earth's sky, humanity did something impossible. They went to space. Admiral Keth Oren was eating his morning meal when the alarm started screaming. He ran to the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, expecting another minor problem. What he saw on the view screen made him drop his cup. Human ships. Dozens of them. Rising from the planet below. "That is impossible," he whispered. They did not have ships. They could not have built ships. But there they were. 47 vessels of various sizes, climbing up through the atmosphere. They were ugly ships, nothing like the elegant Valdorian designs. They looked like they had been built in a hurry from whatever materials were available. Some parts were clearly alien technology bolted onto human frames, but they were armed. And they were coming straight for his fleet. Commander Jake Turner sat in the pilot's seat of a human fighter craft. He was 34 years old, a former Navy pilot who had volunteered for this mission, knowing he might not come back. His ship was called the Hornet. It was fast, dangerous, and completely untested in real combat. "All squadrons, form up," Jake ordered through his radio. "Remember your training. Remember why we are here. Today, we take back our sky." The human fleet spread out into attack formation. At the center was their biggest ship, the Defiance. It was not as large as the Valdorian warships, but it carried weapons that no alien had ever seen. Railguns that could punch through any armor. Missiles with warheads designed to bypass energy shields. And something else. Something secret. Admiral Catherine Moore stood on the bridge of the Defiance. She had traded her Army uniform for a Navy one. Someone had to lead humanity's first space fleet, and there was no one else with her experience. "Status report," she ordered. "All ships ready, Admiral." Weapons charged. Shields at full power. Catherine looked at the Valdorian fleet ahead. 23 ships remained from the original 37. The rest had been destroyed in the past year, picked off one by human missiles and sabotage. The aliens were weaker than they had been, but they were still dangerous. "Open a channel to the enemy fleet," Catherine said. Her communications officer looked surprised, but did as ordered. A moment later, Admiral Keth Oren's face appeared on the screen. "Admiral," Catherine said calmly, "you have one chance. Take your remaining ships and leave our system. Go back to your empire and never return. If you do this, we will let you go in peace." Keth Oren laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. "You think your primitive ships frighten me? I have conquered worlds you cannot imagine. I will destroy your pathetic fleet and burn your planet to ash." Catherine shook her head. "You had your chance." She ended the transmission and turned to her crew. "All ships, engage." The battle began. Jake Turner pushed his fighter to maximum speed, diving toward the nearest Valdorian cruiser. Enemy fire streaked past his cockpit. Green plasma bolts. Red laser beams. The aliens threw everything they had at the human ships, but human ships were small and fast. They danced between the enemy shots like leaves in the wind. And when they fired back, their weapons hit hard. Jake lined up his shot and pulled the trigger. His railgun sent a metal slug through space at incredible speed. It hit the Valdorian cruiser's hull and punched straight through, leaving a hole the size of a car. Air and bodies spilled out into the vacuum. "Got one!" Jake shouted. All around him, other human pilots were scoring hits. The Valdorian ships were bigger and more powerful, but they were slow. They were not used to fighting enemies who attacked from every direction at once. Their weapons were designed for large fleet battles, not fast dogfights. The humans were tearing them apart. On the Defiance, Catherine watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Her plan was working. The Voldorians were responding exactly as she had expected. They were pulling their remaining ships into a defensive formation around the Eternal Dominion. Now, she ordered, activate the Revelation Protocol. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Lisa Park was waiting for this moment. She pressed a button, and a massive antenna array came to life. It began broadcasting a message across the entire galaxy. A message that would be heard by every civilization within range. The message contained coordinates for Earth. It contained records of the Voldorian invasion. It contained images of the destruction, the death, the suffering. And it contained a warning. To all civilizations who received this message, Catherine's voice spoke clearly. The Voldorian Empire came to our world, demanding surrender. They wanted to make us slaves. We refused. For 1 year, they tried to conquer us. They failed. Today, we destroy their fleet. Today, we show the galaxy that humans are not prey. We are predators. And we have a message for any empire that threatens us in the future. Come to our world with war, and we will give you death. This is our promise. This is our warning. The message went out at the speed of light. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations received it. Some had suffered under Voldorian rule. Some had watched friends and family become slaves. For the first time, they heard that someone had fought back. Someone had said no, and that someone was winning dot in the battle above Earth. The tide turned completely. Human ships surrounded the Voldorian fleet. Railguns hammered the enemy vessels without mercy. Missiles found their targets again and again. Admiral Keth Aron watched his ships die. One by one, they exploded or fell silent. His fleet was being destroyed by primitives, by creatures he had thought were nothing more than animals. Retreat, he ordered desperately. All ships, retreat to the jump point. But it was too late. Human vessels had already moved to block the escape route. There was nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Jake Turner saw the Eternal Dominion trying to turn away. The massive flagship was wounded, trailing smoke and debris. But it was still dangerous. Its main weapons could still destroy planets. I am going for the command ship, Jake announced on the radio. Cover me. He pushed his fighter forward, dodging fire from the dying alien fleet. His targeting computer locked onto the Eternal Dominion's bridge. He could see it clearly now. A large window at the front of the ship. Behind that window stood Admiral Keth Aron, the alien who had started all of this. Jake thought about everyone who had died in the past year. 300 million people. Entire cities gone. Families destroyed. All because one empire thought they could take whatever they wanted. This is from Earth, Jake said. He fired. The missile flew true. It hit the bridge of the Eternal Dominion and exploded with tremendous force. The window shattered. The bridge was destroyed. Admiral Keth Aron died instantly, along with his entire command staff. Without their leader, the remaining Voldorian ships lost all coordination. Human forces hunted them down one by one. By the end of the day, not a single alien vessel remained in Earth's orbit. For the first time in a year, the sky belonged to humanity. On Earth, people looked up and saw the explosions in space. They did not know exactly what was happening, but they knew it meant hope. They knew it meant the tide was turning. And across the galaxy, civilizations heard the human message and wondered, who were these creatures who had defeated the mighty Voldorian Empire? What would they do next? They would soon find out. 3 years after the invasion began, it was finally over. But humanity was not finished. The last Voldorian soldiers on Earth had surrendered months ago. Without their fleet, without supplies, without hope, they had no choice. Some were treated as prisoners of war. Others, those who had committed terrible crimes against civilians, were put on trial and punished for what they had done. Earth was free, but the scars of war were everywhere. Cities lay in ruins. 300 million people had died. Entire countries had been devastated. The human race had paid a terrible price for their freedom, and they had not forgotten. Who made them pay it? Admiral Catherine Moore stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Around her, 17 other capital ships waited in formation. They were bigger than anything humans had built before. They were armed with weapons that combined the best of human engineering and Valdorian technology, and they had one destination. Set course for the Valder system, Catherine ordered. Maximum speed. The journey took 3 weeks. Human ships had learned to use faster-than-light travel, but they were still slower than pure Valdorian vessels. That was fine. Catherine was not in a hurry. She wanted the Valdorian Empire to know she was coming. She wanted them to be afraid. When the human fleet arrived at the Valdorian home world, they found what they expected. A military that had been weakened by the failed Earth invasion. A government in chaos after losing their best admiral and thousands of soldiers. An empire that had never faced real opposition before. Now they faced humanity. The battle for the Valdorian home system was not really a battle. It was a reckoning. Human ships systematically destroyed every military station, every weapons factory, every shipyard they could find. They did not attack cities. They did not bomb civilians. Humans had suffered too much to become the monsters they had fought, but they made absolutely certain that the Valdorian military would never threaten anyone. Again, the Valdorian emperor sent messages begging for peace. He offered treasure. He offered technology. He offered slaves from other worlds. Catherine refused everything. "There is only one thing we want," she told him. "Your surrender. Complete and unconditional. Your military will be dismantled. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your empire will release every slave from every world you have ever conquered. This is not a negotiation. This is your only choice." The emperor had no option but to agree. On the day of the formal surrender, President Ryan Mitchell traveled from Earth to stand on Valdorian soil. He was surrounded by human soldiers, standing in the ruins of what had once been the Empire's greatest military base. Cameras broadcast the moment across the galaxy. "Today, we send a message to every civilization in this galaxy," the president said. "The age of empires is over. The strong will no longer prey upon the weak without consequence. Humanity has learned a terrible lesson. We paid for it with the blood of 300 million souls. But we learned another lesson too, one that will define our place among the stars." He paused and looked directly at the camera. Across the galaxy, billions of beings from hundreds of species watched and listened. "We will not be conquered. We will not be enslaved. We will not bow to those who threaten us with destruction." The Valdorian Empire thought they could frighten us into submission. They demanded our surrender. They promised our extinction. We gave them one message in return: die. The word echoed across space and time. Die. Such a simple word. Such a powerful meaning. They did not believe us, the president continued. Now they understand. Let all who would threaten peace and freedom understand this. Humanity remembers. Humanity fights. And humanity wins. The speech ended. The Valdorian emperor signed the surrender documents. And across the galaxy, civilizations that had lived in fear for thousands of years finally saw hope. In the months that followed, the former Valdorian Empire fell apart. Conquered worlds declared independence. Slave species rose up against their masters. The greatest power in the galaxy had been broken, and humans had been the ones to break it. Some civilizations celebrated. They sent messages of thanks and friendship to Earth. They wanted to trade, to learn, to build relationships with this fierce new species. Others watched with fear. If humans could destroy the Valdorian Empire, What else could they do? Were they liberators, or were they simply new conquerors waiting to take their turn? The answer came in the form of a new organization. Humanity proposed a galactic council where all species could meet as equals. No empires, no masters, no slaves, just free peoples working together for peace. Not everyone trusted it. Not everyone joined. But it was a start. On Earth, the rebuilding continued. Cities rose from the ashes. Children were born who would grow up knowing peace. The generation that had fought the war grew old telling stories of what they had survived. Some became heroes. Some became leaders. Some simply wanted to forget. In a small town in Kansas, a young girl named Sophie looked up at the stars. Her mother stood beside her, pointing out the constellations that humans had named thousands of years ago. "Are there other people out there, Mom?" Sophie asked. Her mother smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. Many different kinds of people on many different worlds. Are they going to come here? Maybe someday? Some already have. They come as friends now. They come to trade and talk and learn." Sophie thought about this for a moment. What about the bad ones? The ones who wanted to hurt us? Her mother put an arm around her daughter. The bad ones learned a lesson. They learned that humans are not easy targets. They learned that we fight for what we love. And they learned that if anyone threatens us, we will make them regret it. So we are safe? We are safe. Not because no one wants to hurt us, but because everyone knows what happens if they try. Sophie nodded, satisfied with this answer. She did not fully understand everything her mother meant. She was too young. But someday she would learn. Someday she would read the history books and understand what her grandparents had survived. Someday she would feel the weight of what humanity had done to earn its place in the galaxy. For now, she just looked at the stars and dreamed. Above her, the night sky stretched out forever. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the borders of their space. Somewhere out there, former slaves were building new lives on free worlds. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing because one small species on one small planet had refused to give up. The Voldorian Empire had come to Earth, expecting easy prey. They had demanded surrender. They had promised destruction. They had given humanity one day to submit or die. Humanity had given them a different answer. And now, across the stars, everyone knew what that answer meant. Do not come to our world with threats. Do not try to take our freedom. Do not think we will ever surrender. Because if you do, we have only one message for you. The same message we gave the Voldorians. The same message we will give to anyone who threatens what we love. Die. And we will make it happen. The end.